Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Celebrate the journeys that bring us closer together. An exclusive offer on a vehicle you'll adore at the Mercedes-Benz Holiday Love Celebration. Going on now through January 2nd. Learn more at mbusa.com/special offers. He's the busy Greg Olsen, NFL on Fox analyst, and joining us on behalf of DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll talk about that. He was on the call for the Cowboys and Commanders with Joe Davis, and next Sunday he's got the Cardinals and the Vikings. Greg, good to talk to you again. You've played in a lot of games. You've watched a lot of games. You broadcast a lot of games. Where would you put yesterday's game between the Cowboys-Commanders on that list?
Well, I think it's safe to say it's right at or near the top. And especially, I think it was really just the contrast of that fourth quarter, 41 points, how those 41 points were scored were just, it was absolute chaos. But it really came after a pretty pedestrian 2.5, 3 quarters. Like nobody really could get anything going. It was red zone field goals that were a circus to begin with. We couldn't make field goals, couldn't make extra points leading up to that. And then the fourth quarter just got insane. Special teams plays, both good and bad. 86-yard, in essence, Hail Mary type plays in desperation mode that go for touchdowns. It was just, I can't say I've ever seen a sequence of events that culminated with an ending like that, all in one quarter, all down the stretch, maybe ever, at least in a game that I can remember.
And you bring up a great point. Sometimes we go, boy, that was a great game. It wasn't a great game, but it was a great finish. It was a great final quarter. When you guys get together with the Commanders during the week and you sit down with Jayden Daniels, how much are you allowed to ask about how healthy he is with those ribs? Because it certainly looked like their game plan was different with those ribs, that they weren't going to put him out there running.
Yeah, I think yesterday was probably the healthiest he's been, and it was probably the most that they had been willing to activate him as a design runner that we've seen at least through the last couple weeks. So when you go back to the Philly game and the Pittsburgh game before that, their previous 2 losses, they weren't using him as a runner at all. So I think yesterday he had the nice touchdown run in the third quarter. That was a really nice design, really nice play there off the left side. Had a few other nice ones. He ran a speed option in the first half for a big pickup for a first down, couple scrambles. So I think yesterday was the healthiest he's been in a long time. It seemed like they kind of ran the entire offense through him as they were earlier in the season. It's really just their inability to get the ball downfield. That's the big problem that they're having. And the irony is, it kind of at the end of the game in desperation mode, when they needed a 2-minute score and a 2-point conversion down 11, they got it, throwing the ball downfield, attacking. And then, of course, the Terry McLaurin 86-yard touchdown in desperation mode was another one. So they opened it up there at the end of the game, and I just think they need to do it more.
How do you explain what Dallas did? And I don't know if this is more on the Commanders or you give credit to the Cowboys.
I think it's probably, as like anything, I think it's a combination of both. But I give Mike McCarthy and that Cowboys group a lot of credit. I mean, they were reeling. And then they come into that game yesterday, and they're excited to get Deron Bland back. They're all-pro corner. He had missed the entire season with a foot injury. They get him back. They get Parsons back. But then they lose Diggs. Trevon Diggs, he was out due to injury. But it was really the offensive side of the ball that we knew going in was just really down a lot of guys. They had CeeDee Lamb, and then it was a lot of backups. They're missing Tyler Smith, missing Zach Martin, rotating at left tackle. They thought Brandon Cooks was going to come back. He ended up being out another week. And, of course, Cooper Rush taking over for Dak. So they showed a lot of life. They made plays where they had to. Schoonmaker, again, the backup tight end to Jake Ferguson. He makes the big touchdown there in the end. So it was really a good effort, but it was special teams, it was defense, and it was offense. And it was really more the recipe that we're used to seeing from this Dallas team that's had a lot of success. Take the ball away, make splash special teams plays, and then obviously get the offense going. So that's what they did yesterday, and I think they deserve a lot of credit.
I'm looking at the DraftKings odds this morning for MVP. It's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley. What does Saquon Barkley have to do? Can he be the MVP this year? I mean, let's be honest. Can he be, and how can he be the MVP?
Well, I think obviously the first thing is just continue to perform at the level that he's been playing at. And now whether or not that's feasible or not, whether that's realistic to play at this level as a running back, down the stretch through the playoffs, it's hard to say. I mean, he's playing at such a high, I mean, what, he had 300 all-purpose last night or a little over. Like, it's just what he's been able to do. That is the perfect offense for Saquon Barkley. And I think all this nonsense about, oh, if he would be doing it if he was with the Giants is not necessary. And that's not a knock on Saquon. It's just the situation that he walked into, the offensive line, the weapons, the style of system, spread everybody out, a mobile quarterback you have to account for with Jaylen. Like, it is the perfect offense for a player like Saquon Barkley to unleash everything that he's good at, run and pass. To win the MVP, he's probably going to need some help. He's going to probably need these quarterbacks, Lamar and Josh Allen, and probably Goff to a degree, to like come down to earth a little bit. If Josh Allen continues to play at the level he has and he continues to get marquee wins against, the Chiefs again, and he gets against Lamar at some point, like if he continues to win those games, it's a quarterback award, and we can argue whether that's fair or unfair, but there's no question Saquon Barkley is as good as anybody in the entire league, regardless of position. Just unfortunate for him, he doesn't play quarterback.
Thanksgiving, Black Friday, DraftKings Sportsbook has touchdowns for sale. All customers eligible for a touchdown parlay profit boost on Thanksgiving Day. Buy one, get one deal for touchdown bets on Black Friday. We're talking to Greg Olsen, NFL on Fox. How aware were you of the point spread when you played?
When I played, I couldn't tell you if we were favored, underdogs, what the over-under is. I've actually learned more about it in the broadcasting world just because you hear it more. And there is an element to these guys who do make these spreads and do make these. It's amazing how close they always are. Like the way they look at the game from points, yards per play, and efficiency numbers, they kind of look at it as more of like a math equation than they do just like X's and O's on the field. But yeah, I think if you pulled 99+% of the players in the league, they couldn't tell you. But obviously we know with fans and the way it's obviously become just the fabric of everything on Sundays, I think it's part of the popularity of the game. I think people are interested now in games. They might not be fans of those teams, but obviously they have vested interest in the outcome or at least the score. So I think it's changed the way people watch the game. I think it's brought a lot of interest nationally as opposed to just following your regional team. And but yeah, I don't think it's something that players are aware of really to any degree.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you can have day-to-day life in the NFL and not be aware of what's my over-under for yards in this game. Or I mean, it's there. It's all over social media. I don't know how you could go into a game now in today's environment and that everybody's allowed to talk about it. Everybody's encouraged to gamble and not know, hey, you know what? We're favored by 2.5 tonight. Like, it's there.
And maybe they are nowadays. When I was playing, obviously it was a very different landscape. Like fantasy football was what we were all aware of. You'd be in the grocery store and the lady behind you in the line. I'm playing in Chicago, and the old lady in line, you think she's going to tell you great game because you just beat the Packers or the Lions or whatever, and she's like, you cost me my fantasy because you only caught 2 balls, and I'm like, oh my God, like that's not what I was expecting you to say. So like that was the era like I played in, and then daily fantasy became a thing, and it's kind of evolved from there. But yeah, I mean, I remember those days early in my career trying to figure out like, are we happy that I won, but I didn't have enough catches? And then on the flip side, you had a big game, but then the team you're on lost. Were you happy? That was a rude awakening when I first got in the league. Fantasy football was probably at its highest level.
Do the Lions have any issues?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's right now, the last couple of weeks, it's hard to say they do. I mean, the way that, and I think the thing that everyone always thought was going to be there, all right, can you survive the injuries? Can you survive Hutchinson going down and now Anzalone gets hurt? Like, and this defense, what is it? They haven't given up a touchdown in 6 quarters or 7, something like that. Like, it's pretty remarkable. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, he has done a fantastic job. Wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the next defensive-minded guys that gets a head job. He's done a great job because so much of the attention of Detroit has been on, of course, the Jared Goff story, which he deserves all the credit in the world for how he's handled that. And then Ben Johnson, he's the belle of the ball. He's been the number 1 choice of a lot of teams. They just can't seem to snag him away from Dan Campbell in Detroit. So the offense gets a lot of the attention, understandably so. But I think Aaron Glenn and that defense and their ability to weather the injury to their best player and one of the best defensive players in the league, and Hutchinson, is pretty remarkable. And now the question is, they got to sustain it. And as we all know in the NFL, especially you get to the playoffs, one bad afternoon, couple bad breaks, and all of that good work, it's over. There's no best of 3, best of 5. So they've got to maintain this for 6 more games, 6 more weeks or so, and then keep it rolling through the playoffs. So it's a long road ahead. A lot could happen, but if if the season ended now, I don't think there's any question they're the best team.
Who's the best tight end of all time?
Man, that's a great question. If you would have told my younger self that anyone was ever going to beat Tony Gonzalez, that was like the guy we all grew up watching in high school and college, and had a chance to overlap with him for a few years in the league and get to know him. Tony was always at the top of the mountain. The longevity, the consistency, and then, of course, just the sheer volume of yards and catches and touchdowns just seems so, incomprehensible that anyone would ever approach it. Then Gronk came along, and he did it, again, different. Could do the run blocking, physical, one of the most prolific guys. Obviously, him and Brady kind of rechanged how people... He didn't have quite the longevity to approach those numbers. And now you enter a guy like Kelsey. I think we've gotten to the point where Kelsey's in that argument of saying he passed Tony, and he might not ever reach the final numbers. I don't know how long he's going to play, but when you start talking about 7 years in a row of 1,000-yard seasons, then you factor in the postseason success that he's had and the amount of wear and tear in games and catches and yards in the postseason. That's kind of where him and Gronk have kind of separated from a lot of the other guys at the top of the list. So it is hard for me to put anyone above Tony, because that was the guy like I really looked up to and idolized through my career as a young player. But I think Kelsey and Gronk have kind of entered that, and I think Kelsey might be pulling away.
He's Greg Olsen, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook. Touchdowns for sale. All customers eligible for a touchdown parlay profit boost on Thanksgiving Day, and a buy one, get one deal for touchdown bets on Black Friday. Great to talk to you again. Safe travels. Cardinals-Vikings coming up. Thanks for joining us, Greg.
I appreciate it. Always good to be on. Have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. That's Greg Olsen, NFL and Fox analyst, former first-round pick, 3-time Pro Bowler.